I'm Wiki Pete, and this is a curiously quick painting of a Stalagsquig from Molog's Mob. These are all the paints I used, I think. This is what the palette looked like afterwards. Overall, this was a very colorful and lovely little guy. Oh no, you can see that the spray is coming out in a very fine point. I think that this was because the guard rod at the back of the airbrush had come forward. Overall, I managed a heavy coat of black, coming up from above and generally a bit all around. I'm trying to get the model with solid rather than thin coverage. Now that's usually a problem, but in this case, it's a 35mm scale, not a 28, so you've got a little margin for error. Aren't all those fine details like a 28 would have. Anyway, after a good quick under-priming, the model was done, and once the spray dries, I'm ready for the Zenithal highlight gray layer. Once you've got the broad strokes down and you're sure of what your flow rate is, you might like to, and I usually decide to, go in and get some otherwise improbably bright little edges with sprays. Just really stuff that you couldn't do from a distance or with a rattle can. It's important to maintain flow and avoid spurts like this one. There's really no coming back from that. Anyway, you want to do the Zenithal gray highlighting much lighter so that your follow-up step of underbrushing has something to build up from. So we've got the model onto the desk and we are ready to do the dry brushing stage of my underpainting process. And here it is. Our little squiggly stalactite has been dry brushed with pale sand atop of a Zenithal highlight of Vallejo gray surface primer over an all-over priming coat of Vallejo matte black. Now I think the gray surface primer was a bit too heavy. If it had been lighter, the pale sand would be more obvious. But as it stands, this is underbrushing that I can work with. I glazed Vallejo Game Color Hot Orange over the lip bit, over the mouth bits of this little feller. I like to think that when the Stalagsquig is moving, the lip bits turn orange, but otherwise everything else is gray and blends into the caves. I was rather delighted by how the orange sort of faded, but I remain frustrated with the weird consistency of my particular pot of orange. But overall, this step was a delight, and this is finally starting to feel like an actual painting project, instead of something that I was dragging out tediously for YouTube credits. So, like, share, and subscribe. My current recipe for bones and skulls on the bases, or really anywhere, is Game Color Dead Flesh with normal Recon flesh shade as a wash. I don't recall why I started doing this, but I like it, and I feel like it's delightfully counterintuitive. Oh, and while I was here, on a whim, I edge highlighted all the teeny tiny little mushrooms, all the ones along the body of the little feller. I highlighted them with dead flesh as well. So technically, this was a mistake. I used steel gray for all of the stone on the base and all of the stony parts of the Stalagsquig. My current basing scheme for these gloom spikes is somber gray, not steel gray. However, I decided I liked the steel gray on the squig body, so I left that. It's nice. I corrected the base's color by doing a thin coat, sort of almost a glaze, of somber gray. This color is delightful. It is so simple, but, I don't know, rich? Probably up there with charcoal gray in terms of colors that I'm just uncomfortably fond of. Anyway, it's good, it's worked. I'm not convinced that doing steel gray and then somber gray has any visible effect on the final model, so I'm not worried about trying to replicate it in the future. Another color I'm really loving is this Warlord Purple. This was a simple case of base coating the tongue with the color Warlord Purple. Ha! We should call it Warlip Magenta or War Tongue Tone. Not really trying to let anything show through, because there wasn't anything to leave showing through. I have highlighted the edges of this tongue with Squid pink to make it even more tonguey. It's tonguing time. Blue lips make quips. If we're starting with the tongue, we better get to the lips before we start worrying about anything else. I'm sad to say that I'm actually not super jazzed about the blue lips, which is something I keep saying about everything, but my general goal with squigs is to make them look like teeny tiny little iron brew cans. And I think following the shape of the lips with the blue did not do that. But overall, I think the final piece came out fine. It's just not a step I'm gonna try and do again. Not this way, anyway. I did a little bit of a glaze with my extra opaque paints and some plain old water. I just dotted these little poppers and I left the red for something else. You want to see what I was using my extra opaque red for? Oh yeah! Those little red poppets, they look so cute you could just push on them like the subscribe button. But it was just, again, something of a glaze with water and an extra opaque paint. I like that the red ones are the only little cluster and the other mushrooms aren't red, even though I do use red on the gloom spite bases quite frequently, on the other models' gloom spite bases. So, yeah, purple I think I could have done a bit sharper, a bit narrower. And the Recon flesh shade, I really think I'd like it if it's zipped into the cracks a little bit more. But overall, it's great. I love it. And it's at this point I realized I'm actually done. I just have to paint the rim. Huh. Heavy charcoal is one of the 7 game color paints that I just love working with. So I'm using it on the rim for this, of course. And I had to blue tack the model to something else to work on the rim. I don't remember why I chose a bottle of wet water to do that with. But anyway, it's done. It's just done like this. Little guy's ready to go, and I'm ready for you to watch another video, maybe? Or are you ready to watch another video?